This is the Good Government Show.
We're pulling off tables and books and chairs, and we create a whole library space when we go out to different places.
She's talking about a pop-up library, and that's the topic of this edition of the Good Government Show. It's a library to go in Catawaba County, North Carolina. I'm Carol DeOria.
And I'm David Martin, and this is the Good Government Show. So, Carol, the library to go, isn't this just really a modern version of the old Bookmobile?
Well, you know, it is like the Bookmobile, but it's a whole lot more than that. It's the 21st century Bookmobile. I spoke to Siobhan Lowendorf, the Catawaba County Library Director, and here's how she described it.
We wanted to make sure that when the library to go set up somewhere, that it was a full service library. So on the library to go, it has 10 laptop computers. So Greta could do a computer class. She could let somebody use the computer to do job search or resumes. It has a 3D printer, robotics, several different types of robotics, actually. Playaway audiobooks, which, are you familiar with Playaway audiobooks?
No, I'm not.
So Playaway it's like an MP3 player. It's fully enclosed. It comes with a battery, and then we provide earbuds. So someone could take that Playaway. They don't need to have a CD player or a Walkman or anything. They just plug in to this thing and they can listen to the book on audio right there. We invested in a lot of Playaways and a lot of Playaway book kits, because we know that for ESL learners or for people that have trouble learning to read, listening to audiobooks and following along with the actual text print copy really helps them. And so that was a strategy that we wanted to use. So we've loaded up the van with things like that. Comfortable furniture.
But you take it outside the van when you're talking?
Absolutely.
You unload it and you set up like a mini living room. We have a little outdoor carpet. We have chairs, a living room table, and then we set up all the book carts around it so that it looks like you're at an outdoor library. And this is if you're at an outdoor location. Like we mentioned, Greta goes to schools and she'll set this up in an extra classroom or in a big hallway in the cafeteria.
So it's a pop-up library. So could I get the pop-up library van to show up in my house?
You sure could, as long as you invite a bunch of your friends, and maybe you should move to Catawaba County, North Carolina.
But I would need a library card too, right?
This is true.
Okay.
Any county can have a library to go, David. And in this case, Greta Caldwell is the Outreach Services librarian. She drives the van and brings the library to the people.
We go wherever we're needed. So schools, kids can't drive, nursing homes, some of our seniors can't drive and get out. One of my favorite places to go has been a local nursing home. I push out a cart, I get our activities together, I go in and I set up in their dining room and we do activities together just to keep their minds sharp. Now, they don't want me to read to them often, but we do the word games and we do the crosswords and we just have fun doing trivia and bingo sometimes, those kind of things. So I get to know them in this group setting in the dining hall. And then I take my card around to each room throughout the nursing home and say, hey, would you like to check out a book? How are you today? That kind of thing. And I can say that in 2019, when I was doing that, it was wonderful. And I made a good number of friends going to the rooms.
And one of the nursing homes she visits with the library van is the Conover Nursing and Rehabilitation Facility. And Amber Case is the activities director.
She would actually set up and come in and do an activity with my seniors once a month. So, and that would introduce us to the library to go. She would bring in new books. And then from there, my residents can make, any kind of like suggestions that they have books that they'd like to see or activities she would like for them to do with them. She brings us DVDs for people who, do not have cable, but they do have the option to be able to watch movies. So, and she's able to bring us the large print books for those who are having trouble reading. And she's also got books on tape, which helps out a lot.
Do they still do like the Storytime for kids? That was always popular in the library.
They do, actually. In fact, that's a mother's dream or even a father's dream when he's doing kid duty. Moms get a break while the kids learn to love books. I spoke with Allison Martin.
That's no relation, by the way, Allison. I don't know her.
She's the mother of an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and she homeschools them. So this was right up her alley.
I saw the library to go out and about at some places. We had been before, like a local baseball game, and sometimes they were out at local parades, but I had never really used them prior to sort of seeing them out in the community. And then I saw in their newsletter that they were going to start having a story time involved with it at a local church that's just down the road from us. And I thought, well, we'll go try that out. And we've done story time at the library for years. And it's, it's fun and it's entertaining, but it was something interesting to go somewhere other than a library to receive a story time. And then once we went the first time, then we started inviting friends to come with us or to meet us there. So every time they offered it at that church, we would try to go because it had been such a fun experience. Greta in particular is really good at teaching kids how to interact with books, not just her reading to them or them reading it to themselves, but different kinds of ways you can interact with books. And being a homeschool mom, literacy is really, really, really important to me. So watching her do that would give me lots of ideas to then bring back home and do with them as well. But it also was a fun break for me to see how other people approach books or creative ways that they would teach children how to interact with them other than just the standard, here, let's read this together.
So my daughter loved story time, and she loved going to the library. She always came out with an armload of books.
And that was the case with my kids and with Allison's kids.
Every Thursday that they offered the story time, my kids already knew ahead of time that was the week we were going to library to go. So they were very excited. They always looked forward to seeing Greta. And at the time she had an assistant named Mary Lou, and they enjoyed seeing her too. We knew Thursday was library day, and that meant library to go. So they did really look forward to that. It was around maybe an hour and a half by the time she read, and then we did a craft or some kind of related themed activity tied into the book that she read. And then we would have time to check out books or, talk to her about what would be a good book for this or that. And sometimes we just stayed and chatted because we did get to know Greta pretty well and we really enjoyed her. So she set it up like a mini version of the library within the fellowship hall of the church. And she had a craft area and an area to sort of check out the books. But then she had gone through and curated sort of a little mini library for us to kind of peruse through, like a children's section and adult section. And then once she got to know us, I noticed a lot of the books started being kind of tailored to more of what we would talk to her about. So that was really fun for my kids to walk in and see, oh, we just talked to her last week about orangutans or something. And she has 3 books there about that. And now I can, read more about something I'm already interested in. So that was really fun. Felt like VIP at the library. She definitely got to know us on a personal level, and even friends that we would invite, she would ask them some questions, just in conversation to learn more about them. And she would say, next time I see you, maybe I'll have some books about this. So that was kind of neat to especially be able to invite other people to go with us or meet us there. And they would have the same kind of interactions with her and with the books being tailored towards their interests and things.
The sponsor of the Good Government Show is Liquid.
And we love Liquid, and not just because they are the sponsor.
Well, that's why we love them, because they are the sponsor. But Liquid, what they are is they're a digital marketing and technology company. And what they do is they help other companies find their customers, then they engage them digitally. One of their customers was a 5th-generation business, and Liquid got involved and helped them tell their story and highlight their rich history on their new website that Liquid created.
The family had trouble just talking about their products. Well, Liquid showed them a clear way to get their message across. And
now they have a new award-winning website, thanks to Liquid, where they have people that make websites and write websites and create websites.
That's right. Liquid has a full creative staff. They find out where each customer's clients live online, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, whatever it is. The bottom line is Liquid helps their customers with a full digital marketing campaign.
And that's why we love Liquid, and because they're our sponsor, but we really do love Liquid. At Liquid, they make digital work. So check them out on the World Wide Web at liquidint.com. That's liquidint.com. The Good Government Show is also sponsored by the Rodale Institute. Well, what is the Rodale Institute, you say? Well, the Rodale Institute is growing the organic movement through research, farmer training, and consumer education. Hey, they make healthy food. What's better than healthy food that tastes great? With 8 locations across the country and online educational programs, Rodale Institute provides workshops, webinars, and online courses. Like you could learn to be a beekeeper, or you could learn how to grow epic tomatoes, and the classes are very affordable. Rodale does farm consulting and training programs, helping to move the business and products of our agricultural system to a more organic and regenerative future. Check them out at rodaleinstitute.org. That's rodaleinstitute.org. The Good Government Show is also sponsored by Kutztown University, with more than 130 areas of study, 200 student groups, and 22 Division II sports teams. Kutztown University is the perfect place to find your passion, right in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania. Here's what I know about Kutztown. They have a great rugby team. I've seen them play. They're very good. And they have a sports management program, which is among some of the many business programs they have. The school started as a teacher's college, and they still have an excellent educational program. Arts programs and a German history program are just some of the many ways that Kutztown University stands out. At Kutztown, you can truly major in discovering yourself. That's Kutztown University.
Did you have a favorite librarian when you were a kid, David?
I did, because I loved going to the library. I liked to read. I always read the encyclopedias. Yes, I remember in middle school, my librarian there pointed out lots of cool stuff for me to read.
Yeah, and that stays with you your whole life. Well, in Catawaba County, Greta, the librarian, she really prides herself in not only giving out books, but she actually develops relationships with the patrons, and she became one little boy's favorite librarian.
I love going to schools simply because there was one particular one that I love the story so much. I get to go into schools and I set up, we do story time together, we do activities together, and the kids and I kind of get to really know each other pretty well. And there was this one little boy who was always shy, and he had to move from this school, from his old school, because he was having some difficulties learning. And so he was here just to get that extra support he needed. So at his old school, it was very difficult for him to go into the library. There's too many choices. There's too much going on. All of that stuff was, it was just overwhelming for him. So we got to know each other. And one day he was picking out books, and his teacher said, do you realize, like, this is the first time he's actually picked out a book from the library? And I just, like, I had to stop for a second right there and just be like, whoa. So he got this experience because it's a smaller venue. There's less kids around. There's less choices. He wasn't as overwhelmed. He got to come and pick out books and, read, and something that he had never gotten to do before, just because, we were able to go out to where he was and connect with him in that space.
So the Library to Go shows up at nursing homes, churches, and schools. Are there no libraries in all the places where they go?
No, they really don't, and that was the problem. Catawaba County is in North Carolina, and it's a rural place, but they did have a strategic plan, and one of its goals was to raise awareness about the library. They realized that the people who needed the library the most were in rural areas without good transportation.
So the answer, I guess, was, instead of getting people to the library, bring the library to the people. And I guess they're going out in places that were vastly underserved by library services.
That's right. That's right. So they created, in essence, a full library on wheels. It's not just books, but they provide full reading programs, computers. They'll help people fill out job applications. They provide all kinds of things, and they get really creative. They bring the library to go to baseball games, parades, outdoor markets, just name it.
So they stop watching a baseball game and pick up a book? Is that what they do?
They do.
Oh.
They do.
Well, it's too bad they don't have a little, Starbucks, a little coffee shop connected to
Yeah,
it.
that would be nice. But the librarian and her van teamed up in one case with a local soup kitchen called the Corner Table. And the woman who runs the Corner Table is Summer Jenkins.
If you ever came into our soup kitchen facility, the space is not that large. And one of the issues in our county is transportation. So we've always been looking for ways of how we can feed more people and reach more people that can't reach us. So the only way to do that is to go out in the community. So besides having a meal, we wanted to do something more. So when they came to eat, we wanted them to get more out of just coming to get food. And then that's where the library came in. So we kind of use the meal as like a carrot to just get them there. And then the Library to Go brings the additional information and stuff they may not have access to on a regular basis. And it just made a really good partnership because, like Greta had mentioned, they got their bellies full and they got to fill their minds. So it was an awesome partnership and something we're going to continue to do.
So where, for instance, would you do that with the truck and the corner table?
So when we first started, we identified an area that we knew that we could have access to, that we would be able to set up. And it was near a neighborhood that we knew had a lot of kids in it. We knew there was a lot of families in that neighborhood that maybe they only had one vehicle and maybe the dad worked. So we knew the mom was probably home with the children and there's no bus route there. So we knew they weren't jumping on a bus to come to our soup kitchen. So we identified the locations and then, of course, set up there and advertised that we were going to be there. We had banners on the fence of the location, but we are trying to identify locations throughout the county that would benefit from something like this as well.
So with what you're saying, this is a van, they have books, they have computers, they have chairs. This must cost a lot to fill up the tank. I mean, how do they pay for all this?
Well, Catawaba County pays the bill. Siobhan Lohendorf, the county's library director, explained that they just went to them hat in hand and they said, please.
The Institute of Museum and Library Services does a Library Services and Technology Act grant program through the State Library of North Carolina. So we did a 2-year project grant where we purchased the van and hired the staffing. And we used those 2 years to validate the impact to the community. And then we took that proven impact to our county board of commissioners and said, here's what we've done. Can you continue to fund it? And they saw the impact and they funded it. So it's now funded by the county.
Do you know how much it costs?
The van originally was about $110,000 fully equipped. And what I like to tell people is that prior to getting the van, the librarian to go was loading up her car with crates of books and going to places. So this level of outreach, you can go set up a pop-up library at a smaller scale with a lot less. You don't have to have the big fancy van. You could get just a box truck and drive around like that. But the important thing is the dedication of the librarian to get out there and connect with people and get those resources out to places that need them.
And so Catawaba County picks up the tab, and the people who really need the library, the people who need the books and the help the most, can enjoy it free of charge.
Free books. Always the best part of going to the library, getting your books for free. And these books, they got in the hands of the people who really, really needed them. So this is just another case where government stepped in, solved the problem, and fixed the problem.
And you got that right. I'm Carol DeOria.
And I'm Dave Martin. Thanks for joining us on The Good Government Show. We'll see you next time. The Good Government Show is a Valley Park production. Jason Stershic is our editor and producer. Associate producers are Jade Ludlow and MacKenzie Martin. The executive producers of The Good Government Show are Jim Ludlow, David Martin, and David Snyder. Join us again right here for another episode of The Good Government Show.